ReliefFactor.com studio. We had some big news today, actually a couple of large stories today, but I want to start with this, with the guest that I currently have on the line. Stephen Moore, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
Hey, Carl, it's so great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so here's what I want to talk about, Stephen. There were 19 Democrats, 19 Republicans. Right now they feel like Democrats, but 19 Republicans that signed on to this monstrosity of a bill that's actually going to do it, in my opinion, that are going to hurt average everyday Americans that listen to this Larry Elder Show, that are going to hurt the middle class. And that's what I want to talk about. I don't know what it is about the word infrastructure, Stephen Moore, that Republicans, they hear that word, and I don't know if there's some type of hypnotic trance that occurs where they're like, okay, we have to spend money with the Democrats. What's happening here? How does it impact people listening in the Larry Elder audience?
Well, first of all, when they hear the word infrastructure, they think pork. We get the big one, the bacon.
You're right. Okay. Oh, you're right.
So that's, and by the way, it is unconscionable that this bill got 69 votes in the Senate. It got every Democrat, and then 19 Republicans crossed the aisle and voted for one of the biggest debt bills in American history. It's phony baloney. It's as phony as a $3 bill when they say that this is paid for. It's not paid for. It's just massive increases in our national debt. And, Carl, this comes on the $1.9 trillion spending bill that we passed back in March. That was the blue state bailout bill. And then, by the way, no sooner did Chuck Schumer pound the gavel when they got the 69 votes for this bill. He said, okay, now I'm going to have a $3.5 trillion bill. I mean,
like we didn't see that one coming.
Heavy. Yeah.
This is unreal. Okay, let me go over a few things. So the bill includes a mandate for vehicle manufacturers to install drunk and impaired driving prevention technology, which is a standard feature inside of new vehicles. Here's one of the things that I'm concerned about, Stephen Moore. I see lower income Americans and perhaps Americans that are just making it into the middle class. I see their dreams being dashed. I see cars becoming unaffordable for people of lower income or middle class, and we're going to try to go to mass transit. For what reason? I have no clue as to why.
Well, I have a good explanation for this. I mean, the left has had a war against the automobile for 25 or 30 years, and I remember writing a column at the Wall Street Journal on this, probably 2 decades ago. But it's as true today as it was then. So why think about this? Why would the left hate automobiles? And when you think about it, the automobile is probably the most freedom-enhancing invention of all time. Yep. I can get in my car right now, go anywhere, anytime, for as long a distance as I want, without the government knowing where I'm going, except now that they're going to have these new devices on the cars, maybe the government will know where I'm going. But
that's a great point.
They much prefer transit, as you just said. By the way, there's tens of billions of dollars for mass transit. Nobody even rides mass transit anymore. I mean, basically, it would be cheaper for us to give limousine service to the people who are riding on these subway systems than they're so enormously costly. They don't reduce any road congestion. I know people in California, where you are, people think, oh, gee, we'll have transit. Everybody else will use transit, and then the roads will be free, and that's never worked. So, by the way, how about this one, Carl? $50 billion, not $50 million, $50 billion for Amtrak. I mean, my God, how much longer has the United States? For 50 years we've been subsidizing this railroad. It's never made money in a single year. None of its routes make any money. It's a money-burning machine. Now we're going to give them $50 billion more. By the way, I'm still waiting for that California high-speed rail system that we pumped $20 billion into and never carried a single passenger. So, I mean, I could go on and on, but the bottom line is only one out of every $4 in this bill goes to roads and bridges and highways.
You know what? And I talked about this last week, as I feared that the vote was looming and Republicans would absolutely cave on this. I hoped for a sec they would back away and walk away, but obviously they've not done so, and they've greased the skids for this $3.5 trillion monstrosity that I fear is going to be coming down the pike. But I talked about this. I'm actually in Florida, although I'm originally from L.A., And I can tell you
That's right.
when they built that Metro Rail or LA Metro, whatever it is, in Los Angeles, I can remember riding it the first week it opened up, or I can't remember if it was the first day or first week, but nonetheless, I remember riding it. The thing was jam-packed. I kid you not, probably about a few weeks to a month later, if that long, I rode it, and I was one of 7 people on it. And then, I mean, it didn't make any sense because you're right. People love freedom, and what the left wants to do is just remove that thought of freedom, remove the care and concern about freedom. And honestly, when you were younger, you want to work on your car with your dad and all this kind of stuff. That stuff is gone. That stuff is absolutely gone, and Republicans are helping to pave the way for that.
Carol, you're making a great point. Joe Biden had this dictate that he announced, what was it, about a week ago when he brought these electric vehicles on the White House lawn, and he basically said, these are the cars everybody's going to buy, and he said, in 10 years, we're going to have 50% of the new cars are electric vehicles. I'm like, hey, why don't you actually ask the people if they want electric? By the way, I have nothing against electric cars. My friend has an electric car. I use it all the time, and it's cool. I think it's a great ride. But why is the president of the United States telling us what kind of car we need to drive? Well, Americans have a love affair with their cars. That's why the left is never going to be able to get rid of our cars. But, a lot of us just love the old-fashioned, combustible engine. And
yeah,
20%
I'm one
of the cars, by the way, 20% of the electric vehicles that have been sold in California, 20% of them people have traded in to go back to the old-fashioned cars because they don't like them.
Yeah, I'm sure they get great mileage, fuel efficient, all that kind of good stuff. But I just love the combustible engine. $118 billion bailout for the Highway Trust Fund is another thing that was inside of that bill, which is currently funded primarily, I'm reading from justthenews.com, through federal taxes on gas and diesel fuel. Can you expand on that?
Well, let me just say this. There would be no deficit in the Highway Trust Fund except for the gas money, the gas tax money that you pay, which is a user fee. You pay your gas tax to pay for the use of the roads, which I think is perfectly appropriate. But do you know that they take, I forget how much it is, 5 or 10 cents of every dollar that goes into that's supposed to be used for roads and bridges and highways, and they use it for transit. Now, wait a minute. Why should people who are driving their cars who aren't using transit have to pay for the transit? Again, if people want to use transit, that's fine, but they should pay for it. And so that's why there's a deficit, because we raid the money from the Highway Trust Fund and we spend it on things that are not roads and bridges and highways.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I see there's the cryptocurrency provisions. What ended up happening to that? We got 1 minute before the break. Stephen, can you stay with me, or do you need to go?
Oh, yeah. Because we're just getting started here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I want to make sure I go through a few things here. All right. The cryptocurrency provisions.
So the cryptos are, that's basically Bitcoin and other. And I'm a big fan of cryptocurrencies because they provide a private sector, a non-government run currency that competes with central banks. Now, of course, the government hates those for the same reason that
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't want people to have alternatives to the dollar and the mark and the euro and the yen and the yuan and all these other currencies. And I love it because it keeps these central bankers honest. So now they want to tax them and regulate them. And I think that's inappropriate. I think people know the risks they're taking when they buy these cryptos. And by the way, over the last decade, the Bitcoin has been the highest performing asset of any asset. Now, in the last 6 months, it hasn't done very well.
Stephen, hold on. We're talking with Stephen Moore. He'll be back with us on the other side of the break.